Now, if you were one of those people that was concerned that the NASCAR Championship race at Phoenix would be abysmal as a result of the previous two races last year, well, I can say this. After today's race, you have nothing to be worried about. Yo, what is up everyone, my name is Check Cross from NASCAR on MDK. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Lines, the post-race edition, following today's 2020 Fan Shield 500 from the Phoenix Raceway. And all I can say, summed up, it was a NASCAR classic. I mean, the whole race it wasn't like exciting, like dramatic, like it was like, oh my god, this race is unbelievable. It was just a good classic race. It's all that was. It was just a good race. Alright, let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Chase Elliott, he started on the front row along with Kevin Harvick, and you had Martin Truex Jr. starting dead last. This was the second time Truex had to start from the back end of the field. And Chase Elliott at first looked like he was gonna be the car to beat. Got out to a good lead ahead of Kevin Harvick. He also had some newcomers coming into the mix, like Matt DiBenedetto. He had a really good car from stages 1 to stage 2. He was starting to make his way through the field. He had Kyle Larson, who I thought he was gonna have a good run today. Started to fall back, but eventually would make his way at least in contention for the lead later on in the race. Well, yeah, Martin Truex Jr., at least in stage 1, he was already up to the top 15 halfway into that race. He had a very strong car and was in good contention to have a shot at winning this thing. Throughout the entire portion of stage 1 and stage 2, it was the youngsters against the veterans. You had Chase Elliott, the youngster, getting out to the race lead. Then you had the veteran of Kevin Harvick, the 9-time winner at the Phoenix Raceway track, just hunting down Chase Elliott. And they had really good battles. Harvick would get by Chase Elliott, but then after some time, Elliott would charge back and pass Harvick, and then vice versa. You saw lap traffic throughout the race also play a factor. You would see drivers, when they were battling for position, they would use lap cars as a pick. This happened from the battle for first to the battle for 12th. I mean, it was just all over the racetrack. Again, it was classic short track racing where you saw drivers use picks on lap cars in order to advance their position. The first incident came with 17 laps to go when you had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who smacked the outside wall in turn 2 and brought out the caution. And then that was when our first big incident came, and that was after that restart from that caution. Entering turn 3, Denny Hamlin slides up, hits Brad Keselowski, Keselowski spins as well, and collects points leader Ryan Blaney, which Ryan Blaney was having a good car that day, tough break for him. I don't know what is with Blaney this year. He's in contention to either win or have a strong day, and then something happens. Last weekend in Fontana was a perfect example. He had a really good car, had a good shot at winning, and then with 3 laps to go was running in the top 5, and he had a loose wheel, had to come on to pit road, and that ended his chance of getting a good run. Same thing here today, was just caught up in someone else's mess, and he would eventually fall back to, I think, outside the top 30 in the unofficial results. Nothing much happened after that. Kevin Harvick would go on to win stage 1. Chase Elliott would come home in second, and Logano in the 3rd position. When stage 2 began, again, it was a youngster against a veteran. Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott were again continuously battling for the lead. Harvick got out to a lead, but then 18 laps later, Elliott took the lead. And then 10 laps later, Harvick took the lead right back from Chase Elliott. But then there was one driver that I don't think anyone expected to have such a strong run throughout the rest of the race, and that was Brad Keselowski. He was caught up in that second caution of the day involving Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. Well, I don't know what they did to that 2 car, but he had a good, fast car, even after the damage that he suffered from that second caution. He was able to rally his way back into the second position and was able to pass Chase Elliott to hold that second spot. He had a really strong car for the damage that he suffered, and he's going to get more damage later on in this race. He had a pretty strong car here today. Also, I had a couple rookies having some strong runs today. Cole Custer was really good, at least being consistent in the top 15 for a good majority of the race. But then you had Tyler Reddick from RCR, who had a really good car. Out of nowhere, you just see him, he's in the top 10, all of a sudden, he's in the top 5, running really good, and at some point later on in the race, he's going to get to the top 3 and second place even as far as in this race. He had a very strong car. Meanwhile, his teammate Austin Dillon, not that good of a run. He brought the 4th caution of the day on lap 132 when he blew a right front tire. This race, for some reason, had a lot of tires go down in this race. It was very odd. Maybe it has to do with the tire that Goodyear brought in combination with the low downforce, high horsepower package. But oddly, we saw a lot of either left front or right front tires down in this race. So when that caution came out and cars came onto pit road, Chase Elliott came out first while Kevin Harvick came back 5th, but he won't be there for long. Meanwhile, when the restart came out, Chase Elliott and the 2-car Brad Keselowski were battling. Off of turn 3, Keselowski just gets a bit loose, makes contact, and then out of nowhere, 𝘼𝙗𝙀 Jr. comes by, makes a 3-wide off of turn 2, and takes the lead on the back straightaway. Keep in mind, he started at the back end of the field and not even halfway in stage 2, and he's already taken the race lead. Truex, I think there was a stat show by Mike Joy. I think he said that all the Joe Gibbs cars, they have passed, I think, 3,000 or 600 something, 3,600 or so cars so far in this race, and we're only 4 races in. Or 5 races in. It was pretty incredible, the drive that Truex has had the past 2 races, having to come from the back of the field and still manage to get his way to the front of the pack. Again, not even halfway into the race, and he's already taken the race lead. But again, Chase Elliott was at this point of the race the class of the field. He would eventually take the lead away from 𝘼𝙗𝙀 Jr., and he was leading until 35 laps ago when he had to come onto pit road due to a loose wheel to the right front. Again, we talked about earlier, for some reason, there was a lot of issues with the left front and right front tires. Chase Elliott fell victim to that. Luckily, he did not blow a tire like what we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago at Las Vegas, but he did have an issue with the right front loose wheel, had to come onto pit road, and he had to forfeit the lead to 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖. And then that brought a game of cat and mouse. So when Chase Elliott took his 4 fresh tires, he had the best tires out of anyone in the field, just started passing cars left and right, passing cars left and right. Well, 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖, knowing that Chase Elliott has a really good car, if not the best car, was trying to pass lap cars to hold Chase Elliott back. So you had 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖 trying to lap cars, and then you had Chase Elliott coming by, trying to get past the cars that was just left so that he could be in the free pass position, and even eventually catch up to 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖 to then unlap himself. It was a very interesting game of cat and mouse there, and it filled up the time, because the second part of stage 2 is when things started to spread out. Not really much happened, but that game of cat and mouse with 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖 and Chase Elliott made some really entertaining racing. Eventually, Chase Elliott would not catch up to 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖. While he was able to be in the free pass position 2 laps ago, Garrett Smithley blew an engine that would ultimately seal the deal for stage 2, as Keselowski would win with Harvick second and 𝘼𝙗𝙀 Jr. in third. So stage 3 began, and he had Tyler Reddick on the front row. Again, he had a really good car, but eventually fell back to 9th place due to an issue entering 3 and 4, where he got up into like all the debris area, just ruined his tires, and he fell back to nearly outside the top 10. But luckily for him, caution will come out with 98 laps ago, as Quinn Houff in the 00 car blew another engine. That's 2 engines that have blown so far in this race. Blew an engine entering 2, or coming off of 2, spun. I don't think he hit the outside wall, but he did bring out the caution. Through pit strategy, Tyler Reddick came onto pit row and eventually come back on the front row with 92 to go. Now, 𝘼𝙗𝙀 Jr. was the race leader. However, Truex did not stop. Joe Logano, on the other hand, did. I think he started third or fourth in that race. I'm not sure. After that restart, he was able to take the lead away from 𝘼𝙗𝙀 Jr. with ease. And then it started to become later on, once stage 3 started, that Joe Logano was starting to become a major factor in this race. He was not that I wouldn't say he wasn't that good, but he just didn't have the car you'd think that it was capable of winning. He had a good top 5 car, I felt like, but not the car capable of winning, at least I thought. But whatever that crew did, beginning of stage 3, when they made those adjustments on pit road, his car just was a rocket. He started to become a major factor in contending for this race. But then, of course, you cannot forget about the Dominator. Kevin Harvick at the racetrack, 9 wins. He started to chase down Joe Logano ever so slightly, and then with 61 laps to go, another Joe Gibbs driver falls victim, and that was Erik Jones. He spun in the middle of turns 1 and 2, right in front of Cole Custer, to bring out another caution. The 22 leads after the restart with 55 laps to go, but 10 laps later, another caution. Unfortunately, it involves Tyler Reddick. He cut a right front tire and slammed hard into the outside wall in turn 2 to bring out another caution, and would eventually end in what I thought would have been a career day for him in the Cup Series. He had a top, personal opinion, I really thought he was going to a top 5 finish, if not a top 10. He had a really strong car for RCR, a really good car. I thought it was going to be a career day for him, but unfortunately, it would end in the garage due to a right front tire going down. So one thing we forgot about was that restarts could get crazy at Phoenix, and that's what happened here. So after that Tyler Reddick incident and the restart, we went through the process and the restart happened, coming off of turn 2, 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖 slid up into Chase Elliott, who got the lead from through pit strategy. Slid up right next to Chase Elliott. Keselowski had to let off the gas, and then Chase Elliott, because he was so far up the racetrack, he had to let off the gas so he didn't hit the wall. So then, guess who comes out of nowhere in 3rd place to 1st? Kyle Larson. We haven't talked with him all race long. I had him in my starter pick, I believe, but he was just not there. He did not have the car. He was falling back early in stage 1. Was a 9th to 10th place car. I felt like, out of nowhere, boom, just takes the lead. But then after some time, 𝘼𝙗𝙁 𝙬𝑆𝐾𝑖, who had a much better car than Larson, would take the lead right back. And the cautions, you know what they say, cautious breed cautious. That's what happened. 36 to go. The 17 car Chris Buescher slams the outside wall again after contact with the 95 car Christopher Bell, and he would bring out a caution again. Then on the restart, cautions kept on coming. Entering turn 1, the 19 car Truex Jr. gets a tap from the 10 car of Aric Almirola. Truex then hits the right rear corner panel Jimmie Johnson, and that sends Truex hard into the turn 2 wall. The turn 2 wall had a lot of incidents in this race, and that would kill his car, and it would ultimately end Truex's day, which is a tough shame for him because he had a really good car. Started from the back end of the field, made his way up into the top 3, even took the lead at some point, led a few laps, and then ultimately it was just a chain reaction. Just he slowed up a bit. Almirola didn't slow up a bit hard enough as Truex and just got into him and put him in the wall. It wasn't intentional. Aric Almirola did say in an interview it wasn't intentional, so it was just a racing deal, I feel like, but ultimately tough break for Truex. Then you had restart again, Brad Keselowski as race leader, and you had teammate Joe Logano hunting him down. And Keselowski, Logano had a bit of issues at the clash at Daytona. Keselowski had a bit of issue with Logano after the last restart when Logano was pushing Keselowski unnecessarily a bit harsh or too hard. Keselowski didn't like that. And you saw Logano, because he had fresher tires than Keselowski, all over his back bumper, just trying to find a way to get by Keselowski without making contact with him. He would ultimately do that with 19 to go, and Logano would take the race lead. But then the 4 car of Harvick was just coming, and he was coming so fast. He was not really gonna be playing nice with anybody, because entering turn 3, battling Keselowski for second, instead of cleanly moving him out of the way, Harvick just bumped him, moved him out of the way, got him by with 9 laps to go, because he was trying to chase down Logano as fast as he could. But luckily for him, you get another restart. With 9 laps to go, the 6 car of Ross Chastain makes contact with the 41 car of Cole Custer just past the start-finish line. And when that happened, the 24 car of Byron ran into the 6 car of Chastain and spun him around to bring out the caution. Then on a restart with 4 laps to go, again, I said these restarts would get crazy. Entering turn 3 to go to 3 to go. 4 wide, and actually no, it was even a 5 wide mess just in the middle of the pack. I wasn't sure of all the drivers that were involved, but it was like Stenhouse, Bowman, I think Byron, but it was just a whole mess of drivers, and ultimately the caution would come out because being and banging a 5 wide mess off of turn 3 at Phoenix was just not going to work, and the 38 car of John Hunter Nemechek and the 47 car of Stenhouse spun past start finish line to send us into NASCAR overtime. And to be honest, with overtime came around that restart, it was kind of anticlimactic. Nothing really much happened, but Joe Logano was able to get away from Kevin Harvick, and Joe Logano go on to score his 2nd win of the season, and I believe his second win or 3rd win, if I'm not mistaken, at Phoenix. And yeah, let's take a look now at the point standings, or at least the playoff grid. After Phoenix, Kevin Harvick now takes the points lead after Ryan Blaney had his issues. Joe Logano in 2nd, Chase Elliott in 3rd plus 56. 4th is Alex Bowman. Jimmie Johnson stays in 5th. Ryan Blaney falls to 6th. Larson in 7th, tied with Almirola. DiBenedetto, nice run for him, was able to stay in the top 10, tied with Brad Keselowski for 9th. Denny Hamlin falls to 11th, as now tied with teammate Kyle Busch. Clint Bowyer in 13th. Chris Buescher 14th. Martin Truex Jr. in 15th, not the day he wanted to. Had a really good car, now just 8 points ahead. And Kurt Busch holds the final spot, plus 2 ahead of Stenhouse. 18th is Bubba Wallace. Tied with Bubba Wallace is William Byron. And in the 20th spot is Austin Dillon, 13 points behind. He's tied with Erik Jones. So what would I give this race? I don't really know if I can give it a number, but it was just a classic. A NASCAR classic. Very good racing, comers and goers. You had new challengers later on in the race. Had an exciting final few laps, dramatic build up to the finish. And yeah, it was just overall a really good race. And now I have faith that the championship race later on in November is not going to be a snooze fest. That was my worry of with this package last year. After those 2 races in 2019, I was afraid, oh god, this Phoenix race is going to be awful when it becomes a championship race in 2020. But after today's race, I don't think we have much to worry about. It was a fantastic race. But overall, congratulations to Joey Logano. The next race was going to be at Atlanta. Very bumpy, old. Man, I can't wait for Atlanta. It's going to be with the, reverting back to the 2019 package, but still very excited for Atlanta next Sunday. Tell me, what do you guys think of this race in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Of course, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, my name is 𝘼𝙤𝙙𝙖𝙮𝙀 from NASCAR on MDK, and I'll see you guys in the next video.